I have a tie. I just haven't put it on. I'm not gonna lie that much. But I might not. That's true. I think my tie is also a very slightly different shade of blue than the staff. My old channel is. Yeah, I think that I can do whatever, but it would be like very subtly off. Yours would look really good. Yeah, I only own one tie though. For my first co-op interview, I couldn't figure out how to tie at the same time, so I went to the back.
Hi everyone, this is Team Bertha. We are proposing Listening Eye. It is a smart glasses for the deaf, and the team is made up of me, Erica, Jalen, Jonathan, and Mike. So 5% of the world suffers from hearing loss, and the existing solutions are not suitable for everyone. The popular device is hearing aid, but is expensive and can cause infection. It's helpful for the hard of hearing, but not so much for the deaf or APD. APD being auditory processing disorder, which is one can hear the sounds but not associate it with the words being said. Then there's cochlear implants, which is even more expensive and even more risky. One concern is that when newborns are operated on, they cannot give consent. So our goal is to provide another audio tool that will be more accessible because it is a lower cost, but it does not serve to replace any of the devices in the market. Our mission is to create an audio to visual platform that can transcribe live to speech to text and enable sound awareness of surrounding environment for users who are deaf or hard of hearing. There's a few things our smart glasses can do. It can be on conversation mode or alert mode. Conversation mode is when the smart glasses uses Google API to transcribe speech to text, and it will be displayed on the glass lenses. Then there's alert mode, which the user can select a few words, and the smart glasses will detect these words and tell the user when it is being heard. The mobile application lets the user choose between the two modes and select different keywords to be alerted, including the user's name. It can be used to also adjust font size, read conversation history, and translate to other languages.
So the initial plan of our architecture, we had a microcontroller, a teensy, on the glasses lenses with microphones attached and an OLED screen, and this would be communicating with the smartphone application through a Bluetooth module, and the smartphone application would do most of the processing, communicating with the Google Speech-to-Text API. However, with some issues with getting the microphone to create audio data and transmitting it, we had to move the microphone onto a USB-powered microphone and create a Python application to speak to the Google Speech-to-Text API, as we weren't able to get the Android application to speak to the Google Speech-to-Text API as well. So the Python application on the laptop does the majority of the processing and communicates via Bluetooth to the Listening Eye device, and also communicates via Bluetooth to the Android application itself. So the components of our Listening Eye include the Teensy 4.0 H205 Bluetooth module, an OLED display, a PCB, a battery, and the 3D printed glasses frames and cases.
So the customized PCB is used to have essential components in a more compact space so that can be put next to the glasses. And here we have the schematic on the Altium software. Here you can see the PCB on hand. It's used to connect the Teensy microcontroller, the Bluetooth module, the OLED screen, and the battery together. And it lets the OLED screen be functional. It's based off of a prototype, the OLED breakout board by Crystal Fonts. And a voltage regulator was added to power the Teensy and Bluetooth module from a 7.4 battery.
So the Teensy on board the Listening Eye, it does a very simple task of just receiving text Bluetooth or text via Bluetooth and deciphers whether it is a command for it to change fonts between 3 different sizes, or if it's actual transcription of audio. If it's transcription of audio, it just displays the text right on the display and delays. The screen is pretty small, so it delays between chunks if text is too long, and then after 5 seconds, it will clear the display. And then the Python code does the majority of the work. It connects to the listening eye and Android application via Bluetooth, and using a USB microphone, creates an audio stream that is sent to the Google Speech-to-Text API, which then returns the transcription text. This transcription text is forwarded to the Android application and the listening eye display so that it can be displayed on the listening eye, and the Android application also has a conversation history if one were to want to look back on their conversations and see what was said. That is a capability. And then also the Android application is connected to the laptop via Bluetooth so that it can send commands, because the Android application allows for customization of the font sizes, and then in alert mode you can also change which name it alerts you to and selectable keywords.
So for our Android application, it is built in Android Studio using Java. And first we have built a login interface which allows the users to simply sign up and log into the actual application. And this interface is built based on SQLite DB, which allows the user credentials and their personal data to be saved locally. So upon entering the actual application, there are 3 sections. The first one is conversation history. As the name suggests, this is where the speech-to-text histories are recorded and displayed in the text view widget. And buttons are embedded in the fragment to activate the conversation mode. And the second one is the translation record section. And this is pretty similar to the conversation history one, but this is for translated conversations where translated messages are also recorded and displayed in the text view widget. And the buttons also are embedded in this fragment to activate the translation mode. And the last section is the alert mode section, where several keywords are implemented with the corresponding switches. Once some of the switches are turned on, the system will send a notification to the user when corresponding scenarios apply. In addition, there's a name change feature where users can put in their preferred names, and they will get notified once their names are picked up from the surrounding environment. And last but not least, there's Bluetooth connection functionality embedded in all 3 fragments. This does not only allow the user to control the smart glass with the switches and buttons embedded in the program, but it is also useful for the data communication between the smart glass and the mobile app.
So for the 3D print, we used a GrabCAD model and placed boxes on both sides of the lenses. One box was to hold the TNC 4.0 microcontroller, and the other one was to hold the battery. We ran into a couple issues while printing, so we created a Frankenstein model from the broken prints. Many of the issues stemmed from when we were trying to scrape out the model from the 3D printer and manually trying to take away the support filament. The frame was not strong enough to withstand all the pulling and pressing. We used a pretty basic 3D printer, the M300 with the Z-Hips filament, but if we were to print again, we would probably try using hard resin to print. This also contributed to the comfortability, although the frame was good enough to hold it.
So overall, we kind of got it to work. We were able to get the glasses to transcribe speech fairly accurately, and it can send translations from the Python application to the Android application. We tested it with one language, but it was able to work. We could change it to any language if we wanted to. It also responds to the keywords in alert mode. However, our original design, we wanted to try to get it to respond to maybe car horns and other things that someone who is deaf or hard of hearing wouldn't be able to respond or wouldn't be able to acknowledge on their own. But this was a more difficult task than we were able to complete. So the result was just using the speech to text and parsing for any keywords that might be helpful as well, such as fire or a train announcement or things like that. And also, depending on the noise level, the speech to text could be pretty responsive, or it could be a little slow if it's too noisy in the room. And finally, the display is pretty difficult to make really readable close to the eye, even with the Fresnel lenses that we put onto the case to adjust the focal length. So in general, we would have changed that as well. So a few issues that we came across. As mentioned before, we weren't able to get a microphone to work on the teensy and create readable audio files that we could transmit via Bluetooth to a Google Speech to Text API. And then also with that, we weren't able to get the Google API to work on the Android application. So that's why we resulted in using the Python application on the laptop with the USB microphone. And there were a few issues with the PCB that were pretty easily fixable. And finally, the 3D print also kept breaking, as mentioned before. But we were able to salvage the model. So the changes that we would make if we were to continue working on this project, we would change the teensy and have a mic on board the listening eye. And we would also find a better screen to display the text on, and a better method for focusing the display to the eye. And there are also optimizations that we could do to the Google Speech to Text API to this specific application that would allow for clearer and more accurate transcriptions. And finally, we would remove the laptop and have the Android application do all of the main processing.
So for the budget, the total came around to about $700. But if we were to print a single product over again, total cost would be around $95. Here's a quick demo video.
The next Amtrak train is arriving in 10 minutes. Fire. Danger. Warning. Agent. This is a sentence. It should show up on the screen. It was a quick demo. Hello, can you please translate this to Spanish?
Sorry about the audio. I don't know why it sounded like that, but it was much clearer when we recorded the video. It's the system. And we would like to thank Professor Kadir for his guidance with this project. And any questions?
Given the 3D printing issues you had, why didn't you just improvise and just abandon that and just go with a standard frame and then attach, you know, your components to the frame? Because it seemed like it gave you a lot of trouble.
It did, yeah. We were going to change the 3D print to a more simple frame. However, the time to print, we printed it the week before Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving came around and we weren't able to print. And then this week we were pretty time constrained, and we tried printing again with the more basic frame, but it still didn't come out.
Yeah, so, you know, in engineering, you're always gonna run into problems that you weren't anticipating, so it's like also improvising, where if it gave you an issue and giving you, you know, you had all these other objectives to do, just get a standard pair of glasses and use that.
Right. This was, the 3D print was one of the last issues, so that's why it was okay that we just used all the broken models and then put it together. It didn't impede any of the other progress that we were working on.
Okay, thanks.
Did you think about protecting sounds as well as text? You know, like a fire alarm or a train whistle? Because I noticed you had a signal fire, you know.
Right, so that was one of our original design conceptions, but we weren't able to execute that as easily, so we tried to make a more, we tried to at least make a functional model, at least with speech first, and our initial concept, we wanted to do the noises because that would be pretty useful, such as like a car horn or a train or anything like that, but we weren't able to